Twins snap their 4-game losing streak. They hold on. They beat Toronto 2-0 tonight. We're breaking it all down. It's coming up next on the Locked On Twins postcast.
You are Locked On Twins postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back in the lab, back at it. Another Minnesota Twins postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man, Theo Tollefson. Give him a follow on X, at Theodore Tollef1, Twins expert over at Zone Coverage MN. And before we jump into all the action from tonight, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, so last home series of this 9-game homestand. Game 1 versus Toronto tonight, trying to find their just some mojo back. Pablo on the mound. He was everything you wanted and a little bit more. We'll do a deep dive on him here in a minute, but 7 2/3, 6 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 3 Ks, 106 pitches on the night as well. And they needed all of it too. Scoreless, bottom 5. Santana and Castro give him some run support. That makes it 2-0. But just, I mean, Theo, let's be real. Just the way things have gone the past week and a half, we weren't sitting here feeling confident with a 2-0 lead. Rocco tried to let him finish the 8th. He gives up 2 base hits. Finally brings in Griffin Jacks. Right. Finally brings in Griffin Jacks. Cleans up the mess per usual. A 3-pitch strikeout to get out of the jam, by the way. That was beautiful. Duran comes in, closes up shop with a huge double play by Castro to end it. And the Twins, they get this monster win, man. Snap a 4-game losing streak. They finally just get their head above water, at least, for another day. Again, final score 2-0. Just start, like always, biggest takeaways, kind of your A topics. Then we'll do a deep dive on Pablo's night next.
You know, those first few innings, it was a back-and-forth pitcher's duel. No one reached base aside from, I believe it was Julian's walk there in his first at-bat. So, I mean, no one was hitting on either side. But that made things a little easier to bear because Pablo was perfect through 4. And then in the 5th, things – he got his first jam, but he got out of it all right. And then they came back around, and the offense finally sparked with that leadoff double from Jose Moreno. Was going to have a ball bounce off the wall, but their left fielder, who I'm just getting familiarized with, Luke's, he had a phenomenal catch, and, it was only a 2-0 game, but that's all they needed. Fortunately, tonight, Pablo dealing like he has been over the last few starts, which is what they've needed, especially with Joe Ryan go down. They needed Pablo Lopez to step back up, and he's done exactly that, and he's continuing to do that. So I think the biggest takeaway is offense finally picking up the slack while one of their starters is dealing in the bullpen. Obviously, they had the luxury to only have to worry about using Jackson Duran to ensure this win, but with how things have been going the last week and a half, you kind of need to shove those 2 guys into an outing just to make sure you get the win.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I want to ask you about that a little bit more later on, but it's only 1 game. I get it. 1 out of 162, but just with the way things have gone this past, week and a half, how much did they just need to win a game just to remember what it feels like to win again? Kansas City lost, by the way. Cleveland won. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but how much can 1 game, I guess, really change the momentum, the psyche, just the overall morale in a clubhouse, I guess, in Major League Baseball? How huge was this?
I mean, momentum is kind of a myth in itself because everything could change no matter what on every single pitch. It's always the ball's going to be in play. You don't know what's going to happen. There are thousands upon thousands of outcomes that could happen every single pitch. So the momentum swing one way or another, it's hard to say on a daily basis. It's easier to put together over a few weeks and see how things are shifting, and we definitely can say that. But after just 1 game, ending a 4-game losing streak, and a very bad one at that, especially at home, that's huge, and you just got to pick it up from there and hope that you get back out there tomorrow, build upon that success, and hopefully bag another win.
We got to do a deep dive on Pablo just a little bit more. Just phenomenal. Throwing 96-mile-an-hour heat in the 8th inning on his 99th pitch. 7 2/3. I mentioned this already, but 7 2/3 inning. 5 hits, 0 earned, 0 walks, 106 pitches total on the night. I mean, best start of the year? You tell me. Where's that one rank? And I guess how bad did they just need him to step up tonight and get them a win again after what they've been through lately?
Yeah, no, I think that it's easy to say that was his best start of the night. It was up until Nathan Lukes, the second to last hitter, that he actually had a 3-0 count, like 3 balls thrown to him. He was the only hitter who was able to get a full count out of Pablo Lopez tonight, and that's phenomenal. So
I think he only had 2 hits going into the 7th as well, right?
yeah. So he was just running out of gas, and that happened. He tried to convince Rocco to let him stay in for one more batter, and he did, but he gave up another hit there. And some of those were just infield bloops that really just were awkward to play. And we saw a few of those from Royce Lewis tonight, and he made the smart decision. First one he had hit to him where, it was just hit too softly that he's like, I'm not going to throw this. I don't have time. It's better I just let him get on versus throwing an error. Then we have a runner on second, and it's a whole new ball game. But, I think that was, good judgment by the defense with some of those bad hits they had to them, because nothing was really hard contact from Toronto's hitters. And the one that they did have, they ran on Wallner, and they once again learned why you don't run on Matt Wallner when he's in right field, especially.
Do we really need reliever help? Can't we just put Matt Wallner in there? How beautiful of a play was that? We better spend at least 30 seconds on that. That punch out from right field at such a critical juncture in the game, by the way. They had to go to replay. I was sitting there with my dad. We were both 50-50. I don't know. It's got to be conclusive, though. Ultimately, they don't overturn. How huge was that play?
Oh, it was, what really kept things in favor of Pablo, making sure he could get back out there for the 8th and at least try to go, full 8, but that wasn't the case. And I think, Wallner being out there playing the ball off the wall very well, that was able to just keep things in their favor. And yeah, I mean, I think next season we'll definitely see a lot more plays like that of him in right field if teams are willing to run on him, especially at target field where he can play off the wall very great with that cannon of an arm of his. But, you just come to expect that from him when people are running on him.
Well, I was going to say, you've talked about him and his arm before on this show, but remind us, what, top 10 arm assist out guy, in the outfield in the league? Top 5, top 3? Where's that arm rank as far as just MLB?
Look at
You going to pull it up? Yeah.
Yep, I'm pulling it up on Baseball Savant right now. Let's see what we got here. I think the last time we said it was 97 or 98th percentile.
Wow.
And I think that was in 2023. So let's see. It's taking a second to load up here. 99. That's now at 99. So he's one of the top guys with arm strength. I don't think that's going to be up to date with what we saw today. Maybe it is.
Sure.
I don't know.
But either way, regardless, he's in that top 5 discussion then, right? I mean, top 3 even?
What you lose with him compared to Kepler is just, Kepler, you're going to get more of those flashy defensive catches. But with Wallner, even if, it's a hit, no one's going to run on him if they think they can try to get from first to second if they get it hit well enough. If he times it right, he can just gun anyone out. And, I think it's fair to say Kepler's not coming back next season. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But at the same time, knowing Matt Wallner is going to be out there as a pure power hitting slugger with a cannon of an arm, that's still not the biggest downgrade in the world. And it brings greater strengths where, Kepler's not been able to provide in these last few seasons.
Pablo, by the way, not sure if you already mentioned this or not. He's now put up 20 2/3 scoreless innings, consecutive scoreless innings now in his last 3 starts. We've been saying we need that spark. We need a spark from anyone. It could be anybody, but Pablo tonight just coming out being that Cy Young type of dude would be such a spark from here on out these last 4 weeks going into the postseason, something they've just been, again, just really missing in that starting rotation all year, especially at the top. By the way, Toronto, they don't have like a pitch count or what? They showed that graphic that Gossman threw 118 pitches once this year, I think it was. And then the next top 2 guys on the list were both Blue Jay starters too, with over 110 pitches, at least one start this year. That's like such foreign territory as a Twins fan, just the way Rocco usually, keeps his guys on a short leash for the most part.
Well, I think that's just telling them where things are at league-wide and why 100's just become this sudden magic number of, oh, we can't leave a starter in once he reaches 100. And I think that's just been a bad shift for the game as a whole. I mean, there's definitely evidence where, throwing well close to 120 to 150 is not the greatest. I mean, not everyone's going to throw 148 pitches like Edwin Jackson did for his no-hitter with the Diamondbacks back in 2010.
Nice.
But he had like 6 or 7 walks in there, but still didn't get up a hit. So we're still not going to see something like that. But I think trying to remove the stigma that's been created, and I think we've all seen it happen in real time over the last 10 years for sure with starting pitchers. I think removing some of that is the case, and I think Pablo, the evidence was there for him in the later inning, just getting those first couple base runners, and when you're on a losing streak this bad, you got to do what you got to do to get outs. But say if they had split these last 4 games instead of losing 4, maybe he gets the full 8, but wasn't the case.
2010 Edwin Jackson. This is why I love having Theo on, because he gives us the best random name drops that you'll ever find. Did it bother you, or did you scratch your head at all? Maybe this is a Rocco report kind of thing, but to have Jax come in for 3 pitches, 3-pitch strike, pull him like that, or was that the right move regardless of the outcome, I guess, for Rocco?
I think, he just wanted to get Jackson there, finish the inning off, and get Duran back out there, build his confidence back up compared to what he had to deal with on Tuesday and Sunday earlier this week. Yeah. And that certainly was the case here for him tonight.
Yeah, no, that makes sense too. Is there any advantages at all, or is there any thought of putting Jax as your 9th inning guy, the closer, moving Duran to the setup role? What are the quick pros and cons, I guess, to something like that? And do you think there's actually a chance they might make that switch?
I don't think you really need to make that switch at all, because you're going to need both of them in those high leverage spots in the 8th and the 9th, and I don't think anyone else in this bullpen right now can be trusted in those. So, I think depending on their usage, Jax might be out there a couple more times than Duran, depending on their bullpen usage that week and how many pitches they threw in their previous outings. But I think, with where things are at, you don't need to make the switch at all in terms of having one guy be the closer or the other. It's just, you got these 2 guys when the game's close and you have a short lead that you got to throw one of them in, and it doesn't matter who or when. But when the game's late and, things are on the line, it's either going to be Jax or Duran at this point, because that bullpen is meek after them. Just having anyone available, really. I mean, middle relief-wise, you got Cole Sands, who has had a solid season, but the pecking order.
I know the depth. I know the depth is atrocious. I know it scares every Minnesota Twin fan, but to have those 2 guys at the end with Duran and Jax, man, I feel like even that is more than what some teams can say. So at least you can hang your hat on that. Rocco report time, Game 1 versus Toronto. The Rocco report, it says what?
You just kept Pablo in for the 8th, and we got to appreciate that.
Yeah. Well said. Short and sweet tonight. All right, plenty more deep dive from this one. Plus, we got our nerdy stat of the day. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships. Also what keeps your ride or die alive. In eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to the ultimate peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, they got it all. And whether you're into speed, power, or style, they got you covered. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back with all the parts you need at the prices you want. Easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Any just quick injury updates? It sounds like Buxton's expected back before Correa. I know Kepler got in there tonight. Brooks Lee sounds like he should be up any day. Thunderberg. Any just quick injury updates for us?
I mean, all I can say is Lee's played 3rd during the Saints doubleheader today in just game 1. Usually when the guy's on a rehab assignment and there's a doubleheader in the schedule, they're just going to play the first game, set the second. I think I'm pretty certain he'll be playing shortstop tomorrow for the Saints and then back up with the team on Sunday, just with roster expansion. like I've been saying all week, why activate him early or demote a guy when the roster's expanding 2 spots and you can just bring him back and you don't have to make any sort of shuffle arounds and have him and likely either Varland or Winder back during that time. So beyond that, I mean, the time frames of who's going to return when is just still very ambiguous outside of Brooks Lee. So I think just trying to put the cart before the horse here on like who's going to be back first, like right after him, it's just so hard to tell that I don't want to read too into the weeds and try to say I have an answer.
Right.
I don't think I do. And if there is a clear answer, they're just not providing it right now because they don't want to get overly optimistic publicly and then have a setback once again, which we've been seeing with Correa since the All-Star break.
Nope, that makes so much sense. Good breakdown there. Get me caught up on the vibe around Max Kepler. I know he's been just in general struggling, and while we're on the subject too, I wanted to ask, walk me through the play where he didn't score from second on a double. What was that his fault? Because I know he kind of took a lot of heat for it, but then I saw the replay. It looked like he got the stop sign. Walk me through that just real quick.
Yeah, he was just because he's been dealing with a bad knee. He's running poorly, so he just didn't hustle through. Tommy Watkins thought he was definitely going to be moving a bit faster, so there was definitely a miscommunication on both their ends, and that was a big cost for them on, I think that was Tuesday night. Yes. So yeah, that one, I don't know what to tell you more than that. I think, he does need to sit. He's injured. It's clear as enough. So what they do with that, I don't know. But I think he's one of these guys who's just been limping through because you down Buxton, you down Correa, and so many other guys that you just need someone to get out there and play through the pain, and that's been his case. And I think, if you can get him a couple weeks off his feet, so come October, he can be much better at the plate. That is looking more like a possibility once we have a clear idea of how things play out.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we might be watching Kepler's last, 25, 26 regular season games as a Twin, but also at the same time, it's not crazy to think about that. Like, I think it's just kind of a foregone conclusion. At least that's the vibe around town anyways. I don't think we mentioned this, but Michael Tonkin acquired via waiver claim by the Twins, a 34-year-old right-hander. Any quick scouting report, or what's he do for this bullpen, I guess? How much should we expect him to move the needle and help them back there, if at all, honestly?
I mean, he was really good with the Yankees before they claimed him off waivers, but he had just had a few implosion starts, relief outings, I should say. I think he can possibly fill in as a better middle reliever than who they had him as from his first time around with the Twins from 2013 to 2017. So there is a little bit of hope he can alleviate some of that middle relief pain where he can just come in, get 3 outs, and hopefully keep things close, whether it's 6th or 7th inning. That's looking like the best possibilities for him right now.
They showed the worst bullpen ERA graphic up on the broadcast tonight. Rockies, I think, were the worst in the league. Blue Jays, bottom 5. No Twins, though. Where does the Twins bullpen rank among the league when it comes to ERA? Because I guess with just how bad things have been, I guess I expected them to see them, on the list, at least in that top 5. Not the case, though. So maybe it feels worse than it really is right now.
No, it definitely is. I did a piece for zone coverage earlier this week looking just at that. They're in the middle of the pack. I think when I did it, they were 14th on Monday. I think things have turned around, put them in 16th. So they're still middle of the league. But, to give some optimism, they're doing better than Texas Rangers were a year ago. Everything was imploding. They were a bottom 5 bullpen going into the final month of the season, regular season. Twins are nowhere near as bad as they were. So that was let's try to look at this with the silver lining. They are not as bad as the defending world champs were a year ago at this time.
Not even close as bad, it sounds like.
No, far from it. I think their bullpen ERA was like 4.5, like 450 or higher. So, it's a ton better. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be panicking or not be dismayed with what you've seen, but it could be worse.
It could be a lot worse, that's for sure. Nerdy stat of the daytime. You got any crazy stat or fun analytic Twins related? What do you got tonight?
Yeah, no, it's been such a long while since we've seen Pablo throw 3 consecutive scoreless outings. Yes, it's been over a year. Last time he did that was August 7th through 18th, 3 starts last year with the Twins against Detroit. the Phillies and Pirates all win at least 6 or 7 innings in all 3 of those starts, all scoreless, only allowed 3 walks, and it looks like he struck out 22 in that stretch. So,
oof, nasty. Yeah. Oh, love it.
So
okay,
that was a good stretch then. He's repeating it now. Hopefully he can continue to be better his next time around against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, certainly heating up at the right time, man. This is the Pablo we've all been waiting for, and starting to get a little bit bigger sample size now. 3 starts in a row. You'll certainly take that with 25 games left. Don't go anywhere. Got to preview these last 2 home games versus Toronto. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members to date. And for me, my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. So simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season, obviously, still in full swing here. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code, all lowercase, Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, 2 more at home, trying to salvage this 9-game homestand still. What do they got to do these last 2 games to stay afloat, get some momentum back? I know we got Zebby on the mound tomorrow, Bailey on the mound Sunday afternoon. What's the scouting report, and what are some of your, I guess, biggest matchups or storylines you're looking at the most?
I think it would be a lot more intriguing if it was Woods Richardson against Barrios tomorrow and not Zebby, just because, that's the guy you got back and now he's finally like a full-fledged major league starter. I think that would be the more intriguing. But I think with Zebby, it's just, how is he building on these first few starts underneath his belt? I mean, is he getting good momentum underneath him? Is he going to have that same command we saw his last time out on the mound? How are things going to look after that devastating loss the last time he was pitching? And I think with Ober, I mean, you got to hope that really bad implosion against Atlanta was some of that was the weather affecting him and everyone else on the mound. I mean, I think Sunday is going to be like 72, 73 degrees for a high, not as windy. So much better conditions. And I think we can all argue that game should have been postponed from the start, but it is what it is now. So I think those are the 2 things. And I think things are looking optimistic for the starters. I think the bullpen, it'll be tough to tell. So they're definitely going to need to have the offense spark up like 8 to 10 run difference between what Toronto's put up to really see how things are tested out there over the next few days.
Again, feels like Toronto's bullpen, though, their relievers can certainly be beat up, and they are very susceptible, according to the numbers anyways. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here either, but after these 2 next games, so after this series, 7 in a row on the road, 4 versus Tampa, and then 3 monster games versus Kansas City, then back at home versus the Angels and Reds before those big 4 games with Cleveland that could, easily, arguably end up deciding the division and the season for the Twins. Well, what sticks out the most when you see that schedule coming up, those next 4 or 5 matchups? What's the biggest keys or storylines, I guess, you're tuned into the most?
I think it's just catching fire at the right time. I know Tampa's pretty much out of this race right now. They are sitting at 66 and 68, 12 and a half games out of the AL East. They're obviously unofficially eliminated. I mean, there's a certain number of games, but you can look at the schedule and have that unofficially. And they're only 6.5 back of the Twins in the wild card. So they got to have a lot go right. But since they were sellers this deadline, I don't think that's going to be the case. So, worst case scenario, just try to split that series because it's 4-game series against them, and then try to get some good momentum going in against Kansas City because obviously that's going to be the bigger one. Upcoming, it's your last 3 games. It can really decide how things play out for the division as a whole and where the Twins will find themselves finishing it. I know when they opened the season in Kansas City, things were not going so hot. Obviously, Royce Lewis down after 2 at-bats, and then Bailey Ober had an implosion on the mound, even though they took 2 of 3 there. The team's so much different now from what it was then, so you got to hope you're at least taking 2 out of 3 before you have the easiest week left on the schedule, which is Angels and Reds, And the Reds have
Right.
done pretty okay. They're still staggering, trying to find themselves out. They've been hurt by a lot of injuries, but they're a big threat. So that's where you got to really make up for this bad homestand, and during the next one against the Angels and Reds, just run away with it, make things as big as you can. So you have as many games won underneath your belt before you have, the last big series. Well, I shouldn't say that, because all but one of their last 4 series on the season is going to be a challenge, because you go Cleveland, then you go to Fenway for the second to last weekend, but you come back home, you face the Marlins. So there's a breather before you face the potential American League East champions, Baltimore Orioles.
So 3 huge with KC on the road, 4 huge ones, obviously, with Cleveland on the road. I'm wondering, as we try to pull it up, how many more times do they play each other? Maybe just once? Is it 3 games
I
only? Because them
think it
beating
is.
each other up obviously is going to play a huge factor of how this division ends up shaking out as well.
Yeah, so they obviously did earlier this week,
Right.
and Kansas City took 3 out of 4 there, which did help keep the Twins within contention. But yeah, pretty much after this weekend, once they finish up against their current opponents, they are in Kansas City. Cleveland is in Kansas City for 3, and then that's the last time they face each other.
Okay, so just 3 more between those two, head-to-head. Okay.
Yeah, so Kansas City really only has 3 against Cleveland this upcoming week, and then the 3 against the Twins, and then it's all non-divisional opponents except for 3 games against the Tigers, that's really the only time they can play upset within the division to kind of help either the Twins or the Guardians for 3 games. But here's who they have to play against after the Twins. Then they have to go to New York, face the Yankees, Pirates, which won't be as challenging, Tigers for an upset series, let's hope, and then the Giants. And then they finish the season on the road against the Nationals and the Braves. So I'd say theirs is looking a little more challenging than what the Twins have ahead of them. So there is hope there.
And none of these 3 teams play the White Sox anymore? Because let's face it, those are 3 gimme games as well there too.
I wouldn't say that, because Cleveland, I don't think, has been doing so hot against them this season.
That is so funny that Cleveland, of all teams, haven't dominated the White Sox. They got to be one of the only teams that haven't dominated the White Sox this year, and yet they're the team in first place everybody's trying to chase.
Yeah, they got 3 games against the White Sox left, but they played the Dodgers before that, and then the Rays after that. So
sandwiched right in between 2 pretty tough matchups. All right, let's get out of here. Great stuff per usual. Twins snap this 4-game losing streak. Pablo, fantastic again. Game 2 tomorrow. Zebby Matthews on the mound. First pitch, 6:10 p.m. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game right here, breaking it all down. Got to go check out all of Theo's work on X. Give him a follow at TheodoreTollef1, plus all the work he's always ripping up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com as well. Go like this video, subscribe to the channel. So close to 8,000 subscribers. That's always much, much appreciated. All right, Theo Tollefson, Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing out.